welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me and coming back. Hello Pickle, do you want to come sit down with mummy? Every single video watch that I get honestly means so much to me. Obviously now she wants to be fed. Sorry, this is just reality of filming with a toddler. I was just saying, every single little video watch that I get, every single like or comment, they mean so much to me, so thank you so much. Now, this video is going to be all about potty training. Now, if you know me from Instagram or know me in real life, you will know that I have just recently potty trained Maisy, and I am so proud of how well she done. Honestly, she has amazed me. She went above all expectations that I had. And yeah, it was honestly, looking back on it, I really enjoyed it, but in the moment I didn't. And I'll go into that shortly, but I just can't believe how quickly it was able to be done. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos before I went ahead and did it with her. I also read a book called Oh Crap Potty Training by Jamie someone. I can't quite remember the author's name, but I'll link it down below. And again, that was really good in, we want to root with the other one. That was really good in setting my me up for my expectations of what to expect and what was normal, and when I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, it was really good at making me realise that actually no, this was a normal step, and it's just how I'm enforcing boundaries, or you know, getting used to it, and it just gave me a lot of confidence. Honestly, she hasn't fed all morning, and then I start filming for 3 minutes and she wants to be fed. So yeah, I really do feel like doing all that research beforehand put me in a really good mind frame for going into the potty training. And I feel like it's really important to do your research before you just do it, because otherwise I feel like I would have given up, like 100% I would have given up. And if it wasn't for the books telling me, you know, you're not messing this up, this is normal, what's happening, like zero progress basically, then I would have just assumed that I was doing it wrong, that she wasn't ready. And the thing is you get so many wonderful messages from people, and I had loads, and honestly, when I say I appreciated every single one, I really did appreciate every single one, because in those moments where I felt like giving up, they gave me so much comfort. But I had so many people say, you know, we tried with our little one and it didn't work the first time round, and we tried again in a month's time, and you know, she took to it perfectly. And that's like so wonderful to hear in the moment, and it did make me feel so much better. But I think it's always really important to hear the other side of it as well, and it's really nice to hear, you know, it was absolutely going to shit for us, but you know, by day 4, by day 5, it turned around and now she's potty trained, and you know, just keep going. And I think it's great to hear both, because sometimes you only hear one side, and as much as that makes you feel great and it makes you feel less ashamed about giving up, you also kind of want there to be a little bit of like, no, it's worth it, like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I just hope that that's what this video can be, because I found that that was what I really needed to watch in the moment, because I didn't want to give up and I really did want to keep going. And obviously if, you know, it wasn't working for her, I would have stopped. I'll always do what's best by Maisy. Sorry, I just needed to go get Maisy a snack, so she's happy now. But yeah, so I just really hope that this can be that video that just gives you a bit more confidence if, you know, you're in the trenches and you feel like nothing's going right, because it's totally normal. I can promise you it's totally normal. So the first thing that you want to do when you're thinking about potty training is you want to block out at least, I would say a week. Some people say 3 days, some people say 5 days. I say a week, because at 3 days, we literally weren't even making any attempts to even go in the potty at that stage. And if you're trying to cram it in a window of doing it before a birthday, or doing it before a wedding, or doing it before this or before that, like, if you're just going to stress yourself out, and you're going to more likely give up, because you're going to be like, I'm never going to be able to do this in the time frame that I need to do it, so we're just going to wait until it's better time. So just make sure you've got a window that, you know, is flexible. If it goes over a week, you can take 10 days. If it takes over 10 days, you can take 2 weeks. I would say give yourself like a 10-day window where you're not going to need to do anything. Hopefully you'll be out within 5 days. Hopefully you might be out in 3. But at least then that way you're not like, oh my God, my window's coming up and I need to be back at work, or back at this or back at that. Like, give yourself 10 days for you to just dedicate yourself to this and to just smash it out. I feel like this routine worked really well for us, because I am very all or nothing with every aspect of my life. I say it to gym all the time, I say it to my friends all the time. I am all or nothing. I'm like it with social media. I'm on it quite a lot, or I'm not on it at all. I'm like it just in fitness. I do loads or I do none. Like, that's just the way that I am and just the way that I work. And I feel like this potty training method worked really well because it was so full on, but at the end it was done. Like, that's what works for me, and I feel like it worked really well for Maisy as well. So for the first 3 days of potty training, in my book I said a day, for me it was 3, for you it might be 5. Every child is different. For the first 3 days of potty training, I did nothing, I mean nothing, apart from watch my child for pee and poo. That was all I did. When I say all I did, I mean I didn't go get a drink, I didn't hoover, I didn't put on laundry, I didn't put the bins out, I didn't walk my dog, I didn't even wee. And I'll go into that in a second because you're going to wonder why, and I'll explain, and you might not like it, but I'm just going to go into it anyway. So I really recommend doing this when you have got someone else off that can help you, whether that's your partner or whether that's your mum that can come round, or anyone that can come round, and for those 3 days they need to do everything else to run the house for you. And so I did it on a time where Jim was off, and he knew that my job in those 3 days was to potty train Maisy. Like, it wasn't all on me, don't get me wrong, but like, that was what I wanted to do, and his job was to do everything else around the house. He made me drinks, he made me so many teas and coffees to keep me going, I can't even tell you. He made me food, he, you know, brought me down a jumper if I got cold. He done everything else to run the house, and he just left me to solely be with Maisy. You cannot take your eyes off them. Like, you cannot take your eyes off them, because in those first 3 days it's abnormal to them, and they don't really want to pee in front of you, to be quite honest, because they can sense this pressure around it that you're waiting for the pee and poo. And as much as you try and disguise it and you try and be really chill and you try and hover and not make it obvious that you're hovering, they know that something's up. They know that they're not allowed to pee in their nappy anymore. They know that they're meant to pee in this plastic thing. They don't really want to pee at all because they're like, oh, I don't really want to do this. So as soon as you leave the room to do anything for a millisecond, that is when they will pee, and it won't be on the potty, it will be on the floor. And if you don't get that opportunity to then move them to the potty, then it's just, you've just wasted an opportunity to teach them. So yeah, that is my first tip, is block out a long amount of time. 2 tips. Block out a long amount of time, have someone at home to help you. And I know obviously not everyone's in the situation where that can happen, but I honestly, if you are able to make that happen, then that is the ideal scenario. I'm just gonna go what happened in our potty training and what worked for us and what didn't, and what I'd change if I could go back, etc. So day 1 of potty training, I brought her downstairs, she was in her nappy, and I said to her, I took off her nappy. Now Maisy's not really that verbal at the moment, like she says individual words, but she can't say sentences, and she understands a lot, but I can't have like a full-on conversation with her and her understand like every single thing that I would be saying. Sorry, if you are new and you're not from Instagram, she's literally just turned 2. So we started doing this 5 days after she turned 2. So I brought her downstairs and I said, Maisy, I'm going to take your nappy off now. We're not going to wear a nappy anymore because you're a big girl now. Like, you're so grown up, aren't you? Because you're 2 now, so you don't need to wear a nappy. So we're going to go in our potty. And I'd had the potty out for a couple of days, couple of weeks prior. And I don't think it really matters if you do or not, but I think it's always a good idea just for them to get used to it so they know what it is. So I said, this is your potty and this is where we're going to do our wee-wees and our poo-poos, because you're so grown up. So where do wee-wees and poo-poos go? They go in the potty. Where do wee-wees and poo-poos go? In the potty. So you're constantly like asking them to reconfirm. Maisy couldn't say that, so she just looked at me like, what? But I still think it's really good to like get them engaged with it. So where do wee-wees and poo-poos go? They go in the potty, don't they? So it's just trying to get them to be a bit like, what's she asking me? Oh, they go in there. What's she asking me? I just think it's really good to get like some reconfirmation of what you're expecting from them. Sorry, my battery just died on my phone, so if the position's changed or anything like that, then that's why. The morning was just installing her that she doesn't need to wear a nappy anymore because she's a big girl. And then after that, it was pretty much just watching her. So you are going to be playing with your child all day. I tried to not really put much TV on because I felt like it could have just been too much of a distraction. She'd have been too buzzing watching it and she'd have literally just weed and not really thought much about it. So it's literally just playing. I luckily did Maisy's obviously just after her birthday. That's when we started, so she did have lots of new toys, which made it a lot easier. So if you can do it after like a birthday or after a Christmas, I would advise, if you can, or get lots of new toys in for it, because otherwise you're both just going to get so bored and you're just going to do each other's heads in. So that made it a little bit easier. But yeah, you really want to make sure that you're not hovering too much. but you are going to be watching them like a hawk. So it's almost quite stressful, because you're like watching their every single move, watching every single cue that they might need a wee, but yet you're trying to act really like, oh, everything's fine. So it's quite stressful, but I feel like after day 2 or 3 you get your groove and you manage to be like this silent ninja that's just like watching for accidents whilst being really discreet. So it definitely takes a little while, but that's pretty much all you're going to be doing the first 1, 2, 3 days until your child starts to get the bit of a hang of it. Maisie had no awareness at first of really when she was weeing. She would just go. There was no cues beforehand that I could see, and that's a really important thing. Like, there always is cues. Is that, I want to say clues, but I mean like cue. Like, they always give a cue when they're about to wee. And at first I think you don't really know what you're looking out for. So you think, oh, they're not giving me one. Advert again. But there will be a cue. So I found for Maisie's, about a couple of minutes before she'd go, she'd like put her hand like behind like her bum, almost to be like, oh, I need a wee. Because it wasn't immediately before she needed to go, I didn't see it as a cue, because then she'd go and then I'd be like, well, I've just been watching, and 10 seconds before you weed, you did nothing. But her cue was quite a while before she needed to go. It was almost like, oh, I'm going to need a wee soon, and I don't really know what to do. It's a bit of like a nervous thing. So that was what I found was Maisie's cue, and I find it even now. She's still doing it now. I'll know when she needs to go because she does this. And then I'll be like, remember, if you need to do a wee or a pippy, you go in your potty. And then now she'll obviously just go over. But the first couple of days, obviously, she didn't. So she'd do that, and then I'd think, oh, she needs to go to the toilet, but then she wouldn't. But then she'd go 2 minutes later, and I'd be like, how did I miss that? Like, I just asked you if you wanted to go and you didn't, but it's because it was about 2 minutes before she needed to go. So do you know what I mean? You get used to these little things. And so the first 2 days is just watching for that and just thinking, okay, well, she did that and then she went for a wee 2 minutes later. So maybe that's her cue. Let me see if she does it next time. Yes, she did it next time. What else does she do? Actually, sometimes she might put her hand near the front of her, or she might do a little bit of a wee dance. But it might not be immediately before, it might be 5 minutes before, because she's like, I'm gonna need to go for a wee in a minute and I don't really know where to go. It's really hard, like, it's not obvious, and I think that's what's the hardest thing about potty training, is you feel like a detective, you've like got to piece all these bits together, but as soon as you know them, it makes your life so much easier. So for the first 2 days, just study your child, study their every move. But that's why, again, you've got to be with them 24/7, because if you've popped out the room, you might think, oh great, I haven't missed the wee, but you might have missed their wee cue. Do you know what I mean? So it's so important to just be with them 24/7. So the first couple of days, Maisy had a real phobia for some reason of sitting on the potty, which is bizarre, because before we'd started the potty training and the potty was in the room, she was absolutely fine sitting on it. But it was almost like once I asked it of her, she was like, oh, I don't want to do that. It was a bit of like a protest thing, which is totally normal. And again, it's probably one of those things that if I didn't have my book or YouTube videos that I'd watched prior to fall back on, I'd have been like, oh, she hated the potty, she's scared of it. Like, I'm gonna, really harm her if I keep going with it. But it's not, it's normal. It's them thinking, well, I've sat on this potty before out of freedom, and now you're asking me to do it, and I don't want to, so I'm not going to. I'm very much a gentle parent, like anyone knows that, but there still needs to be boundaries. Like, you can't pee on the floor. Like, not a problem whilst you're learning, but you can't pee on the floor forever, and you're not wearing a nappy anymore, so you've got to learn to go to the potty. And again, it's just about, this isn't a choice, this is where we pee now, so this is what we're going to do, and then the kindest, nicest way possible. And they love it. Like, Maisy is so proud whenever she does a wee in the potty now. So it's not negative to put boundaries in place about where they go to the toilet. It's just obviously about doing it kindly. So going back to what I did, because I keep getting sidetracked, because I feel like there's so many different elements of this that I can like go off to that all happened at different times, but I'm going to try and keep it as chronological as possible. The first couple of times she went for a wee on day 1, she would just wee on the floor, and obviously I would grab her and I would put her on the potty. If she got so much as a droplet, and I mean like a teardrop amount in the potty, even if I had a bloody pond on the floor, you cheer, you go crazy, you go wild. Oh my God, you've done a wee-wee in your potty. Look, you've done a wee-wee in your potty. Well done. We used to go hip, hip, hooray, hip, hip, hooray. Like anything that you know that they'll love. We used to jump around like so excited. We used to show daddy, we used to high five. Get them involved with tipping it down the toilet, even though if there's nothing we need to tip down the toilet. They get to push the button, they get to wash their hands. Let them wash their hands for as long as they want. And then some people like treats, some people don't. Some people might use stickers. I use treats. I use licorice because she really likes licorice, and I thought, well, it's kind of like a semi-healthy like treat, you know what I mean? It's not like chocolate, which we did actually move on to because she got bored of licorice. But I started off with good intentions that, you know, licorice is like the halfway point, like it's not too bad. So every time she did a piece of wee, she'd get a piece of licorice, which she loves, and she was so excited and she loved it. But that still didn't change anything. She still didn't want to go for a wee on the potty. She loved everything else to do with it, but she didn't want to go for a wee on the potty. So, you know, don't think that was like, that's going to be it. They realise that there's a nice treat at the end of it, so they do it. They won't. Like, they haven't pieced everything together just yet. So then she got like into this really weird thing where she didn't want to wee on the floor. And I don't know why, because we never obviously made a fuss when she weed on the floor, or did anything. And that's a really key thing as well, is I didn't ever make a fuss if she weed on the floor. It would just be like, oh, wee-wees don't go on the floor, do they? They go in the potty, darling, and just wipe it up. And that's fine. Or you don't need to say anything if you don't want to. Depends how sensitive your kid is. Sometimes I could feel that she'd done it and she was looking at me to be like, oh dear, I've weed on the floor. If that was doing that, I'd just be like, I just wipe it up. You also don't say it's okay, darling, though, because it's not okay that they've weed on the floor. But it's also not okay. It's just what it is. But you don't want to be like, oh, it's okay, darling, don't worry about it. Because then they think, oh, I can wee on the floor. No, it's not okay, but it's not a problem. So you're just going to wipe it up in silence, smile at them, absolutely fine. There'd be some days where she'd wee on the floor and she'd literally just walk off and not give a shit, to be quite honest. And on those days, I'd sometimes be like, oh, we don't wee on the floor, darling, we wee in the potty, don't we? Where do we wee? We wee in the potty. And, you know, it's just a gentle reminder. It's not embarrassing her, it's not shaming her, but it's just about saying, like, you really don't seem that bothered that you're weeing on the floor, and it's like the 8th time today. So we don't pee on the floor, we pee on the potty. And that's fine too. So I think you need to adapt to how sensitive your child is. Different days they might be feeling more sensitive than others. So I think that's just something that you need to just, you know, decide yourself what's best for your own child. And it might be different every day, and that's fine too. So every time that she weed, I'd get her to the potty. And because I was with her all the time, I felt like I was able to get more and more wee in the potty with each time, because I felt more confident of, you know, the timings when she was going to need to go, and be able to do like a bit more of a celebration. And she'd realised that more wee was going down the toilet, and it was more exciting to flush away, and she'd know that she'd weed in it because she could see it. And I just feel like it slowly started to like build up her confidence. That was pretty much all that happened for 3 days really. She still made no efforts to go there herself, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is going to take me like 3 weeks to potty train her, because there's just no progress. Once she had this idea that she didn't really want to pee on the floor, I then sort of became like her pee blanket. And because she didn't want to pee on the floor and she didn't want to pee on the potty, she'd run to me every time that she wanted to wee. She'd run to me and I think she wanted to cuddle, and then she'd be cuddling me, and then suddenly she'd pee all down me, and I'd be like, oh. And because it took like a while to sort of hit my clothes and then for the warmth to seep through, I often found that it was really hard to get any in the potty. But we just carried on, and and I just put her down, and I'd be like, wow, you got a droplet of wee in the potty, darling, well done, like blah, blah, blah. Just keep going, just be really positive. I think honestly, the biggest thing about potty training is positivity, patience, and just perseverance. Like 3 Ps, as cheesy as it sounds, I think that is the rule to potty training, where you will succeed if you have 3 of those things. And they're the hardest things to have in the moment. The whole me being her wee blanket thing probably happened for about 2 or 3 days. And then when I used to put her on the potty, when I used to realise that she weed and I used to put her on the potty midstream, she used to arch her back and she used to not want to sit on it. She was really quite, I knew she wasn't afraid of it, because she wasn't afraid of it. Like, she'd been on it before, she knew what it was. It was protest, she didn't want to do it. And I didn't force her to do it. Often I just like hold her above it, because she'd like put her legs up so that, because she didn't want to sit on it. So I just hold her and I'd be like, wow, you're getting a wee in the potty, amazing. And you know, it doesn't need to look like potty training to begin with. It doesn't need to look like they're sitting on the potty and everything's going fine. She's just throwing food around. It can look however you want it to look, because the end result, you're going to get there in the end. You know, you're not always going to be taken into the potty with their legs in the air. Do you know what I mean? Like, just go with what is comfortable for them at the minute. I wasn't going to force her onto the potty and hold her down onto it. Do you know what I mean? I was going to get her as close to it as I could and reassure her that, you know, she's done a fantastic job once she's done it. So anyway, we did that for about 3 days, and there was honestly zero progress. Like, me and June kept saying, like, are we doing this wrong? How is nothing clicking? Like, you know, I didn't expect her to be fully potty trained, but I thought perhaps 1 out of 10 P's she might try and get that herself, but she just wasn't. But I just kept going back to my book and I kept saying, like, this is normal, like, you're not going to see instant results. She's licking the bowl. She's just had a bowl of strawberries and now she's like licking the bowl. I need to get some more. My book just kept saying, you know, it's totally normal and just keep persevering with it and it will click. So we got to day 4 and we came downstairs. Now, it's really important to remember she's still wearing nappies at night, and I'm happy to do that for a little while as of yet, because with Maisy, her sleep isn't good at night anyway, and when you potty train at night, you're meant to wake them twice in the night. I don't want to wake her anymore. I don't want my night sleeps to be any more disturbed than they are. So for me, potty training at night isn't on my agenda just yet. So she was still wearing a nappy at night. So on day 4, I brought her down and I took off her nappy, and her nappy was dry, so she hadn't done a wee all night. She's obviously learning about that bladder, release, hold, everything like that. So she hadn't weed all night. So I took off her nappy. One sec. So I took off her nappy in the morning and I said, Mummy's going to take your nappy off now because we don't wear it during the day anymore, do we? And remember, you go for your wee-wees and your poo-poos and your potty. Anyway, so I took off her nappy and she literally walked over to her potty, which for me was like amazing, just that alone, even if nothing had happened. And she did a wee on her potty. And I was like, oh my God. Like yesterday, she wouldn't sit on it. Yesterday, we had like 13 accidents on the floor. Well, not on the floor, because I'd always get her to the potty, but do you know what I mean? Like, she made no effort to get there herself. And she just went. So I was like, oh my God. So like, obviously we did a massive cheer. I gave her some chocolate, you know, because it was a special one. And then I also gave her an ice lolly. And I was like, oh my God, like that's amazing. Like, I'm so proud of you. You've done a wee in your potty all by yourself. You're such a big girl now. And then the day went on and we had a couple more accidents, and I thought, oh, like, right, okay. But I still thought, well, it's still slow progress, like there's still something. So we had about 4 accidents, and I said to Jim, like, oh, I think that was just like a fluke, but you know, we'll keep going. And I just kind of thought, like, do you know what, like, I know we've just had that positive thing, but I just can't see that this is going to happen in the next 2 weeks, to be quite honest with you, because it's just so slow. Anyway, so the first view of the day was great, and then she had about 5 accidents on the floor, perhaps 6. And then the afternoon, every single wee that she did, she took herself to the potty and she just went on her own. And I don't know why, I don't know what clicked. And ever since then, we haven't had an accident. And we are now on about day 10. So from the afternoon of day 4, she was potty trained. And the day before, I was, you know, thinking, oh my God, fucking kill me now. Kill me now, because I thought I can't do this anymore. You know, Jim had gone back to work. I was trying to do it on my own. I was trying to keep a house, and you know, the dog needed walking and I needed to pee at some points. I need to talk about pee. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. And I just thought, you know, how am I meant to pursue with this when there's 0 progress? And it just goes to show that right before it works, it goes to shit. And that is fine. And that is the time that I think most people give up. And I wanted to give up, trust me, but just when it gets really, really, really bad, just keep going. Just keep going, and I promise you, like, it can only get better. And honestly, on day 4, by the afternoon, I was in such shock. I texted Jim saying, like, this is happening. He was like, what? Because the day before, there was not an ounce of her that was potty trained. There was not an ounce of her that cared. And I just think it's literally all just about persistence. So talking about pee, because I do need to cover this, I did all my pees in her potty. Some people are going to think it's really weird. I really don't care. I wanted to show her what it was for. So I'd say, Mummy needs a pee-pee. So Mummy's going to go pee-pee in your potty, because that's where pee-pees go. And I would sit on her potty, my big old ass. I would sit on her potty and I would do a wee. And then I'd say, oh, do you want to help Mummy flush it down the toilet? She'd help me flush it down the toilet. I'd let her press the button. We'd wash our hands together. And then it made her realise that that is what it's for. Like, she had that recognition that, oh, Mum pees in the potty. I should pee in the potty. I want to be like Mummy. So I did all my wees in the potty. Jim looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. And it did. I don't know if that was one of the reasons. I didn't do that on day 1 because I didn't think about it, but I did it from day 2. And she was so interested every time I went to the potty. And often I'd sit on the potty and then she'd sit on my lap as if she was going to pee on me. So I'd quickly try and finish my wee, so then I could sit her on it. And then sometimes she'd pee, not immediately after, but then she'd like come to me for a cuddle and then pee, because she'd just see me pee. It was like, oh, I need to pee. and then she knew that I'd put her on the potty. So I think that's really important as well. Like, I don't know whether you're going to feel comfortable doing that. Perhaps if they have like an older sibling, you know, that's 6 or something, you can say like, do you mind putting on the potty to show your sister? But yeah, stuff like that doesn't bother me. So if you can get down that low and you can fit your bum on the potty, which mine was definitely overspilling, but do, because I think that's just a really key factor into making them understand it as well, and to show that it's normal to be on the potty. Like, it's not scary, mummy does it. I really don't feel like what we did is anything special. My just honestly one thing to say to you is just persevere. Like, there is no like magic tricks to it. It's literally, just to summarise, whenever they start to pee, you put them on the potty. If they get the smallest amount of pee in the potty, you cheer. Birdies. They get the smallest amount of pee in the potty, you cheer, you go crazy, you do the whole procedure, flush it down the loo, ask them to wash their hands, give them a treat, and then you literally just watch them like a hawk, ready for the next one. That's pretty much all there is to it. Like, I feel like I looked into loads of like complicated methods and complicated this. That is pretty much it. Like, I've had so many people message me on Instagram, like, what are your potty training tips? Like, Maisy seems to have got on really well. That is it. And then just when you feel like nothing is working for you, just keep going. I wish I could make out like I had this really elaborate method that worked really, really well. There was none. Literally, there wasn't anything. You know, it's just that Maisy did it really quickly, and it obviously very clever. And we just kept going. One thing I do need to touch on that I forgot to mention is prompting. So for the first day, we prompted quite a lot. We probably prompted every 15 minutes. I'd say that was probably a bit too much. We probably were annoying her, and that was probably what was causing her to hold in her wee, because she was a bit like, oh, like, stop asking me if I want to pee. Like, I'll pee when I want to pee. So I would say prompt them when you feel it's necessary. Like, if they've just been for a wee, don't prompt them again in 15 minutes, because they're probably not going to need to go. You know, you'll know your child's wee cycle. As I said, for the first day, Maisy weighed every 3 hours. So I don't know why I was still prompting her just after she'd weed, because I knew she wasn't going to go again for like at least another like 3-4 hours. But yeah, I still asked her every 50 minutes, remember to let mummy know when you need a wee. Remember to let mummy know when you do. How annoying is that? Like, if someone asked you that all the time, you'd be so like, oh, just piss off. So I think that's really important as well, to just remember that, like, it might say in the book to prompt them every 15 minutes, but if your child's wee cycle, you know, isn't every half an hour, don't prompt them, because you're just going to annoy them. So I wish I had prompted her probably like every half an hour to 45 minutes. And then when it got nearer the time where I thought she was going to wee, hello darling, when it got nearer the time that I thought she was going to need to wee, then prompt every 10-15 minutes. But I didn't need to do it before, and I think that's just really important to remember. Excuse me, I'm just lying back and making myself comfy. And I think that's what I finally got the grasp of on day 3 and 4, is to prompt less. And I feel like that's when we actually started to make progress, when it wasn't just constantly being bombarded. Sorry, the sunshine's really bright. It wasn't constantly just bombarding her with thoughts of, you know, do you need to wee and poo-poo? Like, she could actually think, like, do I need to wee and poo? Like, she needs to understand that feeling herself without me constantly asking her. So I just think it's really important not to do it too much. And in hindsight, I definitely did it too much on the first day. But I then feel like once you're a bit more confident in yourself, and, you know, I kept going back to my book and reading it, and then I feel like a bit more confident, you know, that I wasn't messing it up, and you know, I didn't need to prompt her as much. And if they do a wee on the floor at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Like, yes, it's a missed opportunity, but it's not the end of the world, and they still learn from it. Like, they don't like the feeling of pee running down their legs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the thing of like, oh, this doesn't feel nice, so I won't do it again. So I think that that's really important to remember as well. So just don't be discouraged if you do get loads on the floor, because it doesn't mean that they're not learning. So for the first week of potty training, you want to make sure that they're naked. You don't want to have any clothes on them at all, no pants. Knickers are, you know, something tight wrapped around them that they're not going to feel that dissimilar to a nappy. So even though they're not absorbent, it still is something touching their bum, so it gives them that security that if they were to do a poo in there, something's going to catch it. It's not just going to trickle all down their legs. And as horrible as it sounds, like, they need that trickling sensation down their legs for them to realise, like, this isn't nice. So the first week of potty training, like, you just want to have them naked, and that's why it's really important to stay in and not go out on walks and stuff like that. Because as soon as you put something on them, it just changes the whole the whole game. Sorry, she just did a wee, so I needed to disappear and give her some chocolate and do the whole celebration. This is clean, by the way. Once they have moved to the next step and they're able to take themselves to the potty, when they're going to do a wee, it's really important at that stage to move on to the next step, which is putting them in some clothes. Otherwise, you're going to have a child that is just only potty trained when they're naked. So for girls, I would recommend dresses, something that they can just hoik up easily, because there's going to be nothing worse than them trying to get to the toilet, not being able to take down their pants, and they've tried really, really hard, but they still feel like they failed because they haven't been able to do it. Oh, God. So it's really important to get them in dresses, and boys it's a bit harder, but if you can get them in like really baggy joggers or something, just so they can pull them down. I'm still not very confident Maisy will be able to Maisy will be able to hoik up her dress. So I still watch her 24/7, just unless she's naked. Like some days I have to say, if I need to be getting on with stuff now that I'm on like day 10, sometimes I will just undress her, just if I need to put the laundry on or something, so that if she needs to go to the toilet, she's not going to pee on her dress. Do you know what I mean? But if I'm in the same room, she'll be dressed, and then when she needs to go to the potty, I'll just pull up her dress and I'll just help her, because she's still not very good at getting the logistics of that yet. Which is totally normal, it's just going to come with time. But yeah, anyway, I hope that helps. I mean, there's not really any revolutionary tips in here, let's be honest. Like, it is pretty much just common sense that when they pee, try and get them to the potty. But hopefully there's some little things in here that you can just take forward when you do yours. If you've got any questions or anything that I haven't covered, which I probably missed loads, because looking back on it, it all seems like such a blur now. Like, it felt like it was going on forever whilst I was in it. But now looking back on it, I'm like, I can't even remember what we did. It's a little bit later now. I have been out and very windswept, and most of my makeup has melted off my face because it's really, really hot today. Ignore my side, literally. I am having like a major sort out, so there's just stuff everywhere. And I don't know what's happened to this makeup here, but apparently it's just gone. But we're just going to forget about that. Oh my goodness. But I just wanted to pop on because I feel, I mean, earlier I tried to film as much as I could in the time span that I could. But as you can see, like, things are just chaotic, like just 24/7. She doesn't nap anymore. I can't film at night because then I don't have the right lighting. So it's super hard. Wow, it's super hard to find the time to do like a well thought out video. So I've just put up on my I've just put up on my Instagram like an ask me anything box, saying that I'm about to do a YouTube video. So if you see me another day answering those questions, it's just because I haven't had a chance to do it today, because I'm just being dragged here, there and everywhere. So yeah, I'll probably check back in with you tomorrow or something. Hello, it's a new day. I have just got back from a very wet and windy walk, so if I look a little bit bedraggled, then that is why. But I did get a few questions come through on my Instagram yesterday when I put up my little question box regarding potty training, and they were all questions that I hadn't actually answered this far yet into the video, so I'm really glad that I asked them, otherwise I think I'd have missed loads of points that people actually wanted to know. So I'm gonna read them out now. Right, so I've just got the questions here on my husband's phone, which is why it's got, I mean, I don't even know what this is. Is it Star Wars? Avengers? Not sure. So yeah, that's why it's got that funny cover on it. But I'm filming on my phone and I couldn't remember what the questions were. So he was like, you can have it for 10 minutes and then I want it back, so I'm going to quickly answer them. So I don't know, one of them was how, which hopefully I feel like I've kind of covered up until this point. And that's literally, as I said, just keep going. Just keep going. Someone else asked, how is the poo on the potty? We started at Christmas. She was 3 in March and she still waits for a nappy. So for the first 3 days, it might be 2 days, 2 or 3 days when we were potty training, we didn't have a poo. And I could tell she was a bit uncomfortable and she wanted to go. We were really in two minds what to do. Part of me wanted to put a nappy on her, but I knew if I put a nappy on her, she then would think, oh, okay, well, I need to wait for the nappy to have my poo. So I kind of thought, I just need to be a bit cruel to be kind, and she needs to just go. And you know, if that means that she holds it in for 3 days and she's a bit uncomfortable, at least when she goes and she realizes that she's gone on the potty. And I think I gave her something like really big when she did a poo on the potty. I think it might have been an ice cream again. I mean, there's been a lot of treats during this whole journey. Since the first time that she did a poo on the potty, she doesn't hold it, but I do find that she is less regular than she was when she was wearing nappies. I'd probably say now she goes either once every 2 days, and sometimes it'd be once a day, but it's normally once every 2 days, whereas when she was wearing nappies it would be like clockwork, once, sometimes twice a day. So yeah, she probably does hold it a little bit, but she doesn't hold it for the nappy. And I think the reason why is we put a nappy on her once she's asleep, so she doesn't ever really ever know that she's wearing a nappy anymore. Obviously she wakes up in the morning and she's wearing it, but I literally take it off before she gets out of bed. So I don't think she ever thinks, oh, I'll hold the poo for my nappy, because she doesn't think that the nappy ever goes on her. So what we do, it's a bit easier because she falls asleep downstairs with us on the sofa, and then we just carry her upstairs to bed. But as soon as she's fallen asleep on me, we put a nappy on her while she's asleep, put her pyjamas on her while she's asleep, which is a bit of a faff sometimes because we're like, don't want to wake her. But we do that, and then she goes to bed, and then when she wakes up in the morning, literally when she starts to stir, I take her nappy off and she wakes up and she's not wearing a nappy. So yeah, I don't think she's ever thought, oh, I'll hold it, because she doesn't know that she's got anything to hold it for. Does that make any sense? But I don't even really have any suggestions if they're holding it. Perhaps just try doing a similar thing, and then if they think, oh well, I've got nowhere else to go because they don't know that they're wearing a nappy, perhaps they might just go in the day. Obviously this is a new journey for me. Like, I'm by no means making this video to be like I'm an expert at potty training. Like, I don't have a clue, to be honest. Like, I really don't. I'm just sharing what worked for us. So yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with that one, but I imagine that's a bit tricky. I've just cleaned the camera because I think it had loads of my foundation all over it, so if you can see me a bit better now, then that's why. Right, so the next question was, which portable potty did you get and would you recommend it? So I've just googled this because I couldn't actually remember the name, and it was the Toddler My Carry potty. They do loads of different designs. They sell them on Amazon, which is where I got mine from. They sell them in like Jojo, Mum and Baby and stuff like that. They have tons of designs. They have like bees, ladybirds, cats, yeah, so many. Maisy's dinosaur obsessed, so we just got her the big lime green dinosaur, which actually I kind of like. But yeah, they've got loads of cool designs, and I really recommend it. It's really sturdy, really robust. The lock on it is really just safe, like nothing's going to come out of there by accident. I mean, she seems to find it really comfy. She goes in it a lot of the time rather than her main potty, and yeah, she liked it from day one, so I would definitely recommend. And I definitely recommend like getting a cheesy one, like get something that, you know, might not go with your house decor or, you know, your outfit when you go out, but something that they're going to love because she loves it and she wants to carry it everywhere. So again, I think that's just another positive thing that you're setting up for them. So yeah, really recommend it. Someone asked, is Maisy potty trained for naps and nighttime too? So the answer is no. So I haven't made any effort to, which I think I kind of touched on, haven't made any effort to train her for the nighttime and the naps yet. It's something that I'll do with time. I'm in no particular rush with it. As I said, her sleep isn't great anyway, so I don't really want to make it any worse. But funnily enough, for the last 3 or 4 nights, she's been completely dry. So she literally hasn't weed from night till morning. So I don't know whether that's something to do with bladder control or something like that, or because she doesn't realise that she's wearing a nappy, she thinks that she doesn't want to go. I don't know if she'd have mastered that bit yet. I'm honestly not sure, but she's been dry. So I haven't done anything, but she's been dry. But if I wake up and it's wet, I'm also not bothered because I'll get there at some stage. But no, I haven't done that bit yet. If I have success with that bit, then I will make another video on it. When she goes for a poo, does she call you to wipe? So at the minute, because we're 11 days in today, I'm still always around her. I can tell when she needs to do a poo normally, so if I can feel that she's a bit uncomfortable and a bit fidgety, I just kind of won't leave the room. But the answer would be no. If she did a poo, she would just get up and crack on. But I'm always around, so I feel like I just know. One thing that is important to say though is that when they do a poo in the potty, it's not like you're used to them doing a poo in the nappy where it's like squished all over them and it's an absolute nightmare. Like, it's pretty clean. Like, you don't, obviously you need to wipe, but you know, it's not and they're not going to get like poo on their hands, do you know what I mean, or anything like that, like, because it's not everywhere, it's literally just, yeah, just a little wipe. But anyway, the answer is no, she wouldn't call me, I don't think, but I haven't actually tested it because I'm just always lurking. So the next question, let me, if I can just remember my husband's phone password. The next question was, how long did it take, please? Do you have to buy pants? So for us, as I've sort of touched on, I gave us a week, and I would have obviously given us more, but I sort of had in my head that I wanted progress after a week, but it actually took us 4.5 days. Yeah, 5 days if you want to round it up, but by the 4.5 day we haven't had an accident since then. And then someone else has asked your top 3 tips, and I would go back to just saying patience, just have tons of patience, which is like the hardest thing to have sometimes, but just work on it. Patience, perseverance, and just tons of praise. And Maisy now, like, she doesn't even want chocolate. I've obviously like chocolated her out, which I don't really know what that says, but she doesn't even want like chocolate or licorice anymore, anything. She's just not bothered. She's not bothered about tipping it down the loo anymore. She's not particularly bothered about washing her hands, obviously, although we always try and encourage her to do so. Like, she's now just really happy with just hip hip hooray, and everything like that. Like, that's what she loves. And I'll be like, do you want a treat? Do you want mummy to, do you want to tip it down the loo with mummy? And she doesn't want to. So for those people that, you know, are not 100% on the treats because they're like, oh, I don't want to, you know, make a bridge for my own back, or anything, make a rod for my own back, and stuff like that, because they feel like they're going to just have to do it forever. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, she's over it now. And obviously, even though I haven't meant for them to, definitely our celebrations of it have become a lot more toned down. But again, it doesn't seem to bother her, because now she's just like, that's where I go. Let's have a look at the next one. So the next one was, how do you find it when you're out and about? What did your first couple of outings look like? So it's quite stressful, I'll be honest, when you go out and about, because you just don't know if they're going to give you any signs for it. You obviously don't want them to pee anywhere, but you've just got to have faith in them. The worst thing you can do is, because you're going out, put a nappy on them, because when you're potty training them, you want them to know that you've got full confidence and you fully trust that they're capable of, you know, being potty trained. So it's really important when you actually go out with them not to just make out like that was all fake and then put a nappy on them, because it's just sending them 2 messages. Like, they are a big girl now, like, they're trying to prove to you that they're capable, and you're saying, you know, like, oh my god, I'm so proud of you, blah blah blah, this at home, and then you go out and you put a nappy on them, and it's just 2 totally different messages. And kids aren't stupid, like, they will pick up on stuff like that. So it's really important not to put a nappy on them to save any shame or any embarrassment or for ease or anything like that. You have to put your trust in them. And Maisy, I have to say, hasn't done a single accident. And we went food shopping today, and I kept asking her on the way round, you know, let mummy know if you need to do a wee-wee, because I've got your potty here, and obviously wee-wee's going to potty. And she just didn't want to go. At one point in Tesco's, I pulled over and at the clothing aisle, it's really quiet, and I got the potty out, and I just said, do you want to go to the potty? And she didn't. When we got back to the car, I was like, we're going to be in the car now, we're going to be in here for a little while, do you want to go to the potty before we go home? And she didn't want to go to the potty. And then we got home and she saw her potty and she ran straight to it and she did a wee. So she'd obviously been holding it in because she didn't want to go when we were out, which is fine. So she's been so good with it. But first couple of outings for us mainly looked like short walks with minimal distractions, and constantly prompting, not constantly, that's the wrong way to describe it, but probably prompting every 15 minutes or so, just reminding her, not even asking her if she needs to do a wee, but just saying, just to let you know, you've got your potty here, mummy's putting your potty here. And it's really important to let them know constantly where their potty is. And I did that even when we were at home and we weren't out. You know, if we moved from room to room, because I didn't have a potty for every room, which is another question I've got on here, because I didn't have a potty in every room, whenever we'd move from like the kitchen to the living room to upstairs, I'd always be like, Maisy, your potty's here, so that she knew, because otherwise they're just going to be racing around for it and all panic, and then they're just going to pee on the floor. So yeah. So this one says, did you have a potty in the bathroom or did you move it from room to room? If so, did you have more than one potty? So we had one potty until we bought her travel potty. And then when I had the 2 potties, I had one in the kitchen, one in the living room. But at first, for like the first 3.5 days, 3-4 days, we just had the one potty, and I just moved it from room to room, and I'd constantly say, your potty's here, which is actually quite exhausting. I didn't keep it in the one room in the bathroom because I think, first of all, when they're first learning, they won't be able to get there in time. Like, when they need to go, they need to go, and obviously you need to take them to it and get as much pee in the potty as possible. So I literally just had it like right next to me the whole time, and that is personally what I would recommend. Also, I forgot to answer the top bit of this question, which was, do you have to buy pants? You do have to buy pants, and I have bought some, but I read in my book that you shouldn't put pants on for a month, because something being close to the skin obviously can replicate a nappy. It gives them safety, stuff's contained, and it can just remind them of, actually, now I used to go in, when I used to have something touching my bum, I used to be able to wee and everything like that. So I wasn't going to put nappies on her for about a month, but I do have to say I feel very confident of where we are in our journey, and I feel like I'm ready to put pants on her now. And also, like, we went to the supermarket today and stuff, and her legs are flailing everywhere, obviously, because she was having little meltdowns and stuff. And I don't really like the fact that, obviously, her minnie's out. So I think I am going to put pants on her probably from tomorrow, Monday. And yeah, I don't think it will affect her journey. If it does, I'll just take them back off again, but that is what I'm going to try and do. I'm just going to take this phone back down to my husband because I know he'll be waiting for it, bless him. So I'll be back in a sec. Right, so that was all the questions that I got. Hopefully that's answered pretty much everything. As I said before, I really don't want this video to come across in a way that I think I'm some kind of potty training expert because I have trained one child. That's not what it's about. It's just about the fact that I really wanted to hear a positive story of it going really, really badly and then it quickly turning around, and I really struggled to find those, and I found a lot of people just saying, we tried and it didn't work, so we tried again. And I thought, I don't want to do that. Like, I've just stayed indoors for 4 days, you know, and I want it to be for a reason. Like, I want to get to the end of this and have accomplished it. And yeah, I really struggled to find those, so I just really hope that this can be a video just to encourage you to keep going. If you're in the trenches and it just seems like nothing is getting better, just keep going for a little while longer, and then hopefully you'll get some fabulous results, and then it's all done. And I think that's what I really love about doing it this way, is the fact that, yes, it's really hard and it's just so overwhelming and so intense, but you struggle through for 4, 5, even 7 days, but then they're potty trained. My phone just went out of battery. What is wrong with me? Why do I never charge it? I should charge it overnight and then I wouldn't have this problem. But yeah, I was basically just saying it's a really intense way of doing it, but I feel like it's just a really quick way of doing it and you get the results. So it's worth being that focused on it for those first 3 days and living and breathing. And I dreamt about it, like literally, no word of a lie. I would go to bed and I would dream about like her weeing and pooing. I would dream that I was potty training her at night, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my god, has she wet the bed, thinking that she wasn't wearing a nappy, but obviously she was wearing a nappy. But honestly, like, I lived and breathed it. Like, it's quite sad how much I lived and breathed it. But again, I just feel like if you do that, then you will get results, because you're obviously just so intent on doing it and it being successful. And again, I think most of it's just about having the confidence in yourself that, you know, you are doing the right thing, even if it feels like you're literally failing at everything, like you are doing the right thing, and just keep persevering. But yeah, anyway, I really hope that helps. If you've got any questions, obviously leave them down below. I'd love to answer any if I've missed anything, which I'm sure I've missed loads. Or you can always message me on Instagram or anything like that as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, then well done. And yeah, I look forward to making another video soon. And when I do her naps and nighttime potty training, I'll definitely make an updated video on that as well. As long as I have success, who knows, I might not. But yeah, thanks so much, and I will catch up with you soon. Bye.